Get started.
Cool. You see my screen all right, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
All right, nice, cool. All right then. So, hello everybody. Hope you're all doing well. Yeah, apologies for like last week. Um we weren't able to get on the Zoom because we had it's a bit like for myself and Fredo, it's been an insanely busy couple of weeks. Fredo's like been dedicated kind of towards that PDF uh book that's coming out, and that is like very, very time consuming. I, on the other hand, have been recording my new set of videos for the curriculum alongside everything with the fund. It's been a bit of a busy period at the minute, so I do apologize for that. But we are back this week, and in terms of trades, again for me, it's been very light this week. I'm going to start off over here, which was kind of the first trade that I was looking to take, but didn't manage to take. It did miss me over here, which I'll go through in a sec. And this one I didn't take, but this was kind of like in alignment with the kind of like pre-London, kind of coming into London continuation, right? So originally, I've mentioned this a few times on Zoom before, right? What you get in pairs such as like GU, EU, and potentially in some other like dollar cross pairs is kind of coming into London. You do just see a very kind of clean continuation going up like this, basically just not breaking any low whatsoever, just consistently printing highs, or vice versa. If it's flipped around, it'll be printing lows. And you'll just see this going through all the way through to about, say, 12 p.m., 1 p.m. London time, right? And what we can potentially tend to anticipate after this is, say, around 12:1 is a potential reversal to occur, right? And this is very common. It happens so many times throughout. You probably get about 3 or 4 opportunities that are like that within the week. And you can trade that in both ways. You can trade it either within London, like London pre-New York, trading the continuation up, i.e. in this section here, or you could have, say, taken a trade within here. I didn't take this one because it was 7 in the morning. I wasn't at the chart at the time. But I'd say trades that are starting from about 7 onwards are valid. But this would have been a pretty decent trade over here, because in the early hours of the morning, we had a grab of this low over here and then a reaction up. And it also presents unwillingness here on this bigger scale, right? After this high is broken. So price was trading down. We had a correction down, taking that low and then breaking this high. So we have our new set trading range here and here, right? Price then comes down into this POI coming into 7 o'clock, taps and has a very instantaneous reaction going to TP at this high over here. Now, I, again, always, when it comes to highs like this, I always take the lower high, as I mentioned a million times before, because of situations that did actually happen on this here, right? We can take the first high, but miss the second one, mitigate something within this gap here, i.e. potentially this candle before reversing, right? Now, it didn't reverse down into this low here, or it didn't come down into this stop, which is fine. So technically, I still would have been in the trade. And it did then go up and break, right? But I'd rather just be out of the trade with the profit. And I like to have more conservative TP, as always, right? Just sticking to the plan. I know it sounds repetitive, but it's just, there's no point of deviating from the plan, right? And that was that. And then coming into, obviously, I did mention before, I didn't take this because I wasn't at the chart at the time, but if I was at the chart at the time, that's what I would have had, hence why I have it marked up. So coming into the overlap, so we're consistently trading up. Order flow is pretty good. And then as we come to the overlap, we have relatively slower, weaker order flow coming higher, right? So in comparison to the big moves like this and this in the pre-London, kind of coming into the overlap session, right? Therefore indicating a reversal, we have slower, weaker order flow coming here. right? And then my trade idea was basically coming off the fact that we are basically ending this order flow streak, if you like, and there is a potential reversal in play. And I'd seen that we have this internal continuation here. Price pushes up. We react off of this point of interest over here, this wick taking this high, and then we have to break. And that to me signified that, okay, price is more than likely going to reverse. So I'm going to take my trade basically within this range and target this low here, right, or this POI. Now, the reason I'm taking that POI is because of the overall extended. Oh, that's just gone up and hit. Yeah, so I'll go through this in a minute. It just missed my entry here, but I did take the EU one, which I will go through in a minute. I'm currently in that trade now. Just going to set an alert here just in case. All right, let me go back to GU. So where are we? Over here. So I was looking to target this POI because it hadn't been mitigated, and you have all these lows here that could have been taken, kind of coming into that New York session, and then a reaction higher. That's always a potential. And I wasn't targeting this low down here just for that reason. And we did have the unwillingness here as well, price pushing higher. So that meant price could have continued higher, whether it would have been in that session, whether it would have been the day after. I'd just rather be out on a conservative TP here. I mean, 1 to 4 is perfect. But unfortunately, we had a miss of the POI over here. We came up. I guess you could say I could have traded in this inefficiency, but that to me is just way too kind of chasey. I would have much preferred something along the lines of this before going lower, right? And my TP being above this high. And then a continuation down. But unfortunately, we didn't get that. And then price hit the TP. It actually broke through the POI. And it came down to this low over here. And then, as you saw, it ran all the way back up and actually came up and touched that high before then going back lower. So that was a bit unfortunate. And that was kind of the only real time I had to trade apart from today, which I did manage to get into a trade, which was Euro USD over here, which I'll quickly walk you through now. So originally, actually, when I came to the chart, I was looking for a sell, right? I was looking for a sell on this. And the reason I was looking for a sell was because of what we had here, right? We had price push up, mitigate this inefficiency, and then push down. Yes, we have failed to break these lows, but I was kind of looking at it from this standpoint here. And then I realized that, yes, we had unwillingness on here as well on a more external basis, but zooming in, we also had this here. If you're looking at it from, say, this trading range perspective, high, low, sorry, high, low, and then break, right? And then I was like, okay, cool. I could sell, but structurally, I don't think it really makes sense. Yes, it does make sense on the grand scheme of things if I'm going from, say, on this basis here, but I do think there's still a lot of room to the upside, and we haven't had a real confirmation. Apologies, hold on. We haven't had a real kind of confirmation of a new range here on this time frame, right? If this broke, then I would have probably been more inclined to look for a sell over here to take it lower, but we hadn't had that on this time frame, and also on this one as well here, which I pointed out earlier. I'm targeting this high, which it looks like it's just about to hit. Hopefully it does. If not, that'll be annoying. But that's it. I think Friday's actually presented some pretty good trades recently. You know, I was never really a fan of it, but I do think Friday is relatively good. But we have taken this high, So if you guys give me 15 seconds, I'm just going to move my stop to this point here. Cool. All right, nice. Now, internally, my kind of reasoning for this trade, hold on, let me get rid of this, was I was originally looking for this point here, right? And I said, if this breaks, I will move my entry up. And reason being is because we would have had the take of this low, break of that high, move down, price then breaking here would have been better to enter there, right? Because if we'd broken this low, then we probably would have seen a further move down. And I didn't kind of want to risk having my entry here just because it's the lowest point. It was more valid to have my entry after this broke based on that. And also looking at this now, if price had taken this low, this high, and then this low, that kind of does look more like a bearish model than a bullish one. So this entry might have been a bit more risky, but we did end up breaking the high, as you can see here. And then this was the entry. And now we're here. So that's that. I'm going to trail my stop actually to this point because it's Friday, and why not? I'd rather come out with 1% than no percent. And we have already taken this high here. So we'll see what happens with that. That's about 1%, roughly 0.85, which is fine. Considering there's been no trades at all this week, I'd rather just be out with profit in that point. So yeah, and yeah, so you can see here we had basically what I was anticipating here. If this entry breaks, move it up. And then we had push, push, push down, push higher. So we've basically got a new kind of range here, and my stop being below there because we have A, B, C, D. So the stop below here is valid. It's also taken a low before breaking the high. So I've got my new invalidation there. Or I've got my invalidation there instead of here. And that was basically the basis of that trade. And I had the same kind of outlook with GU. And annoyingly, I wasn't looking at this on the M1. I was looking at this on the M2. And when price had done that reaction, I was anticipating this buy here. And we literally missed it by, I'll say a pipette, a couple of pipettes. And this one just kind of went straight up to TP. And I could have, I guess, targeted this high, but I was happy with the 1 to 2 that was providing me here. EU, which will probably take me in a minute, was, to be fair, I could have even targeted that high. Yeah, that was a bit of a mistake, to be honest. Yeah. Yeah, that was a very silly mistake. It's annoying because this is kind of when Zoom was just starting, so I was kind of like in the rush of things, but we'll see. You never know. It could hit. But that's that. Yeah, and that's pretty much it in terms of trade. Again, it's been super slow. I haven't really been actively looking at the chart throughout the week because I've had other things to attend to. But I think Friday to like today is actually presented good opportunities. And I'm glad I was originally looking for a sell, and I analyzed it a bit further and realized that that was not the way to go. Buys were, and it just made sense. Even based on this external leg, we have low, high, CBOS, LG, continuation, mitigation, reaction. So that was that. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it for my I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, that was the one I went through earlier. It was before and afters. Yeah, that was that. Cool. One more thing. A very interesting asset class I'd say to look at right now is oil. I definitely think there's, just get rid of any random drawings I might have. Because of the whole Israel-Iran tensions, Iran is obviously very known for their oil exports, right? And I know their export income is made up 82% of their export income is made from oil, right? So anytime there's tension in the Middle East, i.e. Iran, there is, and you know, if it impacts their supply chain, their oil supply chain, or just their overall supply of oil in general, you know, we could see some crazy movements with oil as a whole, right, in the global oil markets. And this is backed by so many different events that have occurred in previous years. Like I know there was one in September 2019. There was drone attacks in Saudi Arabia, which cut their oil production in half. And when that occurred, oil spiked 15% almost instantaneously, right? So it's definitely something to keep an eye on. There could be some crazy moves for oil, whether that's up or down, who knows? You know, it's not always as straightforward as, oh, if supply is cut, prices go up, but generally that's what tends to happen. And again, we all know that oil is massively sensitive to global events, i.e., back in COVID, when oil went to minus $36, it only says zero on TradingView here, but it was like minus $36 off the top of my head. And basically there was excess supply because there was no consumption of oil, basically, from my understanding. And basically what that meant was because there was so much supply, the suppliers were basically, or it would have basically meant that suppliers would have had to pay people to take oil from them, right? That's basically what an inverse minus price means. I don't know if that actually ever happened, but if it did, that's what it would have been. So we all know it's very sensitive to this type of stuff. So just make sure you're keeping an eye out for that if you do trade oil, or if you're an oil investor, if you buy physical oil, like oil barrels, or if you're trading the CFD, it's definitely something to keep an eye on. Also, I'll finish off with XRP. Remember myself and Fredo, we were speaking about XRP's price and how it was looking relatively bearish, kind of at the current state that we were talking about it. And it did have like a 20%, or more than that, 33% drop kind of since then. So I'm hoping this continues. Right now, it is technically bearish in the short term. And if we can take this low here, that'd be wonderful. And this would kind of be like from here, like 30 cent to this point here would be my buying threshold personally. So if that happens, it'd be very interesting. They're also releasing, or planning to release, Ripple is planning to release a stable coin, which is pegged to the US dollar. And that, if that comes out, I do think that'll be very, very bullish. It's all speculation at the minute. I'm not sure if they're actually executing on that plan, but if they do, I think that is amazing, because the real world value that Ripple delivers to the globe basically is a massive solution, especially in the cross-border transaction industry. It's insane. So if they can have a stable coin, which is basically a part of that project with the same utility, I definitely do think XRP has so far to go personally. But again, this is all long-term stuff. In short term, I'm hoping we break this threshold, can load up, and then it skyrockets. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. But yeah, that is it from me, guys. Apologies again. There's not been a lot, but it's just been one of those busy periods. Kind of start of the quarter, first month of the quarter is always a bit crazy. So you'll have to excuse me for that. But other than that, that's it. If anyone has any questions, let me know. If not, I'll pass over to Fredo.
Yep. Interesting story. I think the halving is today, right?
It's in about 10 hours, I think.
Yeah, something like that. Very interesting. I don't know. Every time, well, I mean, I went ahead and looked into every single halving on Bitcoin, and every single time price has kind of gone up substantially. So I don't know. I want to see if that'll actually
My analysis
happen
on
this
that
time.
is when there's a halving coming up, i.e., now, you
Mhm.
see quite a big increase in the price pre-halving. And then as the halving approaches, so like, like a couple of weeks till the halving, and when the halving actually occurs, you see quite an adverse effects in price. And then you see kind of like a curve in price going up, like the
Mm.
year on from the halving. So
Mhm.
if you do like actual read on the previous effects, it's quite interesting. But yeah, I mean I think, hold on, let me check. Maybe coin market cap halving is in, yeah, literally 10 hours, 58 minutes. So it would be, is that today? No, it's tomorrow. Well, it'll be today. It'll be today for you, but it'll be tomorrow for me.
Mm.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But
Mm.
especially because there's a loads of there's a lots more liquidity now in BTC compared to the last halving, which was I think in 2020.
Yeah,
Top of my head,
4
I
years
think it's
ago.
yeah, it's interesting stuff, man. Yeah, for sure.
Interesting.
Anyway, that's me done.
Okay. Can everybody see my screen?
Oh, I just realized EUTP'd. Let's go.
Oh, yep, I sure did.
Lovely jubbly.
Yeah, I
That's
like
nice.
that.
2
That's
point.
yeah, that's why you move your invalidation based on solidified points.
Yeah.
So very nice.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get started here. Gonna be very, very, very short and sweet today. I like Alex said, we've been pretty busy doing other things, and I will tell you guys that the book is complete. I will probably give all the details and just everything of everything probably next Friday, just so that gives us enough time to actually sit down and gather all the details. But other than that, that's done. That took me way too long. I'm so sorry that that took so long. I will say I kind of semi procrastinated a couple of months ago, and I just said, hey, you know what? I need to log in and get it done, and it's done. I can even show you guys a quick overview of just what it looks like. This is pretty much everything that's on here. I think the total is about 100. No, it's about 97 pages, excluding 1 and 2. But yeah, the layout, everything, it's ready to go. And I will say that the only thing that I do want to work on with this over the next month or so is I want to get this translated into Spanish. So hopefully that isn't too much of a hassle. But the book is complete, it's ready to go, and I will give you guys details on this probably next Friday. And we have some other details to discuss as well. But as far as chart work goes, the let me see. I only had 1 trade this week. I was gonna have 2. I was actually gonna have 3, and I'll tell you guys why. But I was pretty much gonna take the same setup on EU and AU, and then GU. I was looking for a counter trend setup, but that was invalidated just due to the internal reaction. So I can actually go through that one first. Right. So what I was anticipating here first was I understand that we are technically bullish internally. I also understand that we have come into a very good POI within the discount region. After that, we then have internal order flow still playing within this range. So I know that we have a high to a low retracement. We have the order flow pushing us downward. We even have the clear reaction. You could even see internal reactions here. So the bearish, I mean, the order flow was still technically bearish. And as soon as this is broken through, then I anticipated a potential reversal into the upside. Um, and I usually only aim for the first solidified point. I don't really aim for the second one just because of potentially seeing a liquidation. We maybe not break the external high, we then come down, and then maybe it goes up, or then maybe it comes down. So I just like to aim for the immediate target just because I know that it's possible for me to time a transition and have a objective in place. But internally, this did not work out. And what do I mean by that is this is the original move that we had talked about here. One second. The original move that we had talked about in here, right? The price was slowly pulling back, but we had an internal reaction before, right, touching the POI. So if anything, it came back to touch structure and then it started to continue higher. Not to mention, we also had a sign of unwillingness. And then once that was broken, then we had the confirmed unwillingness. So once this low breaks, this now signifies to me that we have failed to break highs and the order flow is now bearish. The order flow you can see here. So once the order flow is now considered bearish here, in order to buy in my original region, I now need a transition because we had the internal reaction come before we tap the POI, right? Which is a completely different scenario to what I'm going to show you with EU and AU. Right, so this one was technically no trade just because of the internal transition. And with EU, I was looking at a very, very simple continuation, but I kind of took this trade more from a behavioral perspective, not necessarily a model perspective, because I can definitely argue, right, that we had a LG continuation, which is technically true. We do have an LG continuation, but there was already an LG continuation potentially here, either through the break of that low or this low, at least from an M1 time frame, right? But more so, the reason why I was really liking this trade is because you guys know that over the years, I have really emphasized that any type of engulfing candle is very favorable in my personal opinion. That's just a behavior I have seen over the past 2-3 years. Every time we see an engulfing candle, we usually fill the inefficiency or we fill into the open of the candle and then we go lower. So once I had seen liquidity be swept and give us a very big engulfing, I said, you know what? I think this is worth my risk. And I could even show you guys here rather than the chart work. And I said, you know what? This is worth the risk. Not to mention we have broken a solidified low. Not to mention we haven't broken through a previous POI. This is why we know that it is possible to see a POI be tapped twice. You can see tap one, reaction. So even though internally we did not break through in terms of the POI, but we did break through the internal high, this is still valid because we have the open, we have the 50%, and we have the LG of the potential POI. So 2 taps is not necessarily the best sign, but it's also not a sign of invalidation. So after the second reaction, we then break 1 low, 2 low, we have the engulfing. We are also within session, it's about 10:30 here in New York session, which is about 3 hours into New York session. So I just said, hey, you know what? This is, I feel really good about this trade. I'm going to take this first trade back in about 2 to 3 weeks. And it gave me my favorable result, about a 2.5. And then something very interesting that I wanted to note was after the TP was hit, we actually had an internal model play out here where we see direction, we have the liquidity being swept, giving us a LGC model, and then that LGC model gave you an entry and the target. So I thought this was very clean and nice. I just saw this play out right after my TP was done. It was already about 1 p.m. so I'm not really trading at this time anymore, but I just thought this was a textbook model play right after my TP was hit. But other than that, the only other thing I was looking at this week was AUD USD on Thursday, which I am a bit bummed I didn't take this, but pretty much the same scenario as EU. It was right here. Honestly, I don't know why I wasn't paying attention to this. This is actually very smooth plays yesterday because we did have, right, the initial POI being hit, and just for reference, the session open was here. Right, session open was here. So after the session was open, we were given a very good LGC play. Where is that LGC play? The LGC play is based on one high, two high. So there was a very, very nice scenario here, about a 2-to-1, I would say. Yeah, about a 1-to-2, and then it kept going further. But I was more so paying attention not to this play. I was paying more attention to the engulfing after the sweep of the, or after the mitigation of the POI, which is present here. So we had a reaction and engulfing, and internally we actually had an even better setup because we actually had an internal LGC here because we were internally bearish. So we have a reaction after the hit of the POI. We have the break here. So we actually came back into a turbulence point, but the invalidation has to be at the previous high, and then that gave us a bit of a better move. But if you're aiming for external lows, right, if you're more so of an intraday trader, then this actually gave some very good potential. But I thought this one was very clean. I had to show you guys. But other than that, I only took my EU scenario this week. I almost took a loss on this GU scenario. I'm happy I didn't, but other than that, there really isn't much else for me to go about or to go over. So does anybody have any case studies, anything you guys want to show me before we go ahead and log off? I do have like 15 minutes. We have a good amount of people on today. How's everybody doing? Oh, this actually did give a pretty good move.
I'm happy about that.
Yeah, that would give a pretty good move. Swept liquidity, gave a transition, order for disruption right there. Internal continuation here. Okay. Pretty good.
You don't trade Fridays, do you?
No, I don't.
They do give some
I
good stuff.
should though. Honestly, as a scalper, there really isn't an excuse. It's just a preference.
Yeah. But then I guess for you, like
Like this
your
gave a very
time.
good move as well.
Yeah, but honestly, I know I was gutted that that missed. But for your times, like I think kind of coming in the end of like New York on Friday, it's a bit kind of hit or miss because if you're
Yeah.
holding 6 hours, you're coming to the end of the week and it's not always optimal for you.
Yeah, I really like I'm really liking this the 8 a.m. start time because New York opens around 7:30. So I've been waiting for 8 and it's going pretty well.
Mhm.
But yeah, this move would have I wouldn't even be able to catch this move. This was right before my trading time. EU maybe, probably not as well. But I wonder if this is going to continue higher. Because we are bouncing out of here. Nah, actually, never mind. I still want this to roll over. I can keep rolling over downside. This one can definitely keep rolling over downside. Inefficiency fill, and please continue lower. Same thing here. Unwillingness, solidified. We just want the continuation downward. Hmm. Yeah, definitely still want to see this come lower.
Curious. I want to ask a question to anyone in here. Does anyone here have a dual citizenship? And if you do you see any benefits on a day-to-day basis with anything? Or does everyone in here just have single citizenship?
Oh, yes, that's a good question, actually.
UK and Irish. So Irish. So do you have an Irish passport as well, Neil? Because I know that they're in the EU still, aren't they? Because they're not part of the United Kingdom. Do you see any benefits? Because I'm getting so I have an English passport. I'm getting a Spanish one on the 26th, and I don't know. Like, do you find there's any benefits to just like day to day life of anything, or do you know if there is a benefit that you've experienced in the past? I see. Yeah, you don't need to wait in those queues, do you? I guess that's one thing I'm excited for. But I
Interesting.
think if you're buying property or conducting business in another country, I guess it helps.
Yeah, and I'm sure you can open offshore bank accounts now as well.
I think so. Yeah, there must be some possibility to that for sure, or an offshore business.
Yeah, because I'm actually hopefully I can get my dual citizenship either today or within like a week or so.
Yeah,
So
that'd
if
be
that
good.
lets me get like a actual regulated broker account, then I think that would be ideal. And I know a couple of people who are half Mexican, so I'm sure they could do the same thing.
Yeah, for sure.
I just hope that the KYC doesn't screw me and it says that I'm a US resident or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. Because you'll have to submit proof of address, and do you have an address in Mexico?
Maybe.
Yeah,
It could just pay for something.
yeah. Of course.
But yeah, any more questions, guys, or can we wrap it up?
I think everyone's all good.
Cool. All right, guys, feel free to send journals and case studies. And other than that, expect some updates next week. But yeah, I hope you guys have a great weekend.
So you guys have a good one.